So again, remember, today is Wednesday the 15th. I'm going to give you 2 hours from approximately 8:10 till 10:10 to work on these 3 problems. All right? You should attack this as though it's a, quote, real test, unquote. You should be able to look on the screen here and know what you can use as constants, for example. I'm not going to go over any of this. I'm not giving you a lot of help. I told you to design the interface. Now, when you take the test, I don't remember. Paul is really a literal guy. He's just a super guy. The guy who teaches or who taught this class a year ago over in St. Louis. Evan's teaching it now. Okay? But he's made a bunch of really good labs and a bunch of really good tests. Usually he uses a product that's called Balsamic Markup, and he wireframes. He makes a picture of what it's supposed to look like. And I think you've got that. So all you're going to do is make it look as much like that as you can. You know, it's like, you know, Jeff, mine looks 99% like it, but it's not. Don't worry about it. But you'll be able to pick out your colors, your fonts, etc., all that stuff. So do that one. That's a GUI. Then do the next one. You may want to bring up that make change, the one that we did before. You may want to bring that one up and use that as a guide, so to speak. But it's going to be a lot of divide, modulo, divide, modulo. It's going to be the same type of principle. All right. And then finally, there is a console. All right. So again, you should be able to look in here and say, oh, well, are there any constants? If there are, use them. If there are not any, don't use them. All right. Sometimes, you know, yeah, I could make this a constant, but I actually think it's better not being one. You could usually make a pretty good argument for that. Does that make sense? All right. Second thing, and this is what I think you're going to end up liking. I'm saying it online. I'm held to it. It's on tape now, etc. I asked Evan, I said, you know, what are you doing with tests, with written tests? We decided to come up with something new. He decided, and I think, wow, that's a frickin' good idea, so I like it. From now on, every written test you get, you're going to have 2 days to finish it. I'm going to just give it to you. I'm not going to do any reviews, but I'm going to give it to you, and you'll have 2 or 3 days, whatever it is. Okay? Probably I'll give it to you on Monday, and if nothing else, it'll be due Friday. But you can work on it whenever you want to. See what I'm saying?
The written test,
as in the ones we did is, yes. But I think that hopefully will take away any angst that anybody has. Well, I can't get it done. Well, if you get it on Monday and it's due Friday, you should have enough time in there to get it done. All right, I'm just going to take every test. I'm not going to remove anything. I'm just going to take every test because that's less work for me, to be honest with you. But I will do that. So we will start that with the Chapter 5 test. In fact, we'll start it. We'll do 4 like we've been doing the other ones. We'll do that tomorrow, and starting with 5. Okay? But I think that you'll actually appreciate it and do it that way. And I said, how are you grading them? He said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make them worth, the whole thing collectively is 15% of your grade. All right? So what that means is if you don't do them, and you've got 100, you're down to an 85, so you're down to a mid B. All right? But if you're, let's just say you're getting a 75, all right, without any tests, and now you do them, now you got a 90. All right? So I think that'll be a good thing for everybody. So work on these. All right? Do the best you can with them in the amount of time that I gave you. And like I said, so at 10:15, so get a break in there. That'll give us an hour and 40 minutes for me to do those 3. If we do them in an hour, then you'll have the rest of the time as lab. Tomorrow will be lab. All right, we will do the Chapter 4 written test the way we've been doing them, and that should take, what, 10, 15 minutes? The rest of the period will be lab. I've asked Luke to come in tomorrow. I'm going to ask him again today, are you going to be able to come in tomorrow? And some of you have taken advantage of him. Feel free to. Some of you are still coming up and asking me questions. That's fine. I have no problem trying to answer questions. All right. He's just there because sometimes, you know, I don't know. He's actually done all this stuff. He's done, if not your assignments, he's done stuff very close to him. Yes. He is a second-year student. And, you know, he has told me, seriously, he doesn't mind coming in here and working on homework, but if he's going to tutor and they're giving $10 an hour, He wants to tutor. That's what he wants to do if it's up to him. All right. Okay, so you've got 2 hours. Get a break in there, at least one. Get a break in whenever you need a break. All right. Try not to take more than 10 or 15 minutes. All right. If you don't, let me know and I'll run off another one. You have it? Why don't you all look for it? If you don't have it, just let me know. It looks like this. At the top, AWD1100 C# programming pretest number 1. It's a single page, just a front.
I know you gave it to me before. I just shoveled all my paper too.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said if you can't find it, I can. You said you have yours, Angie. I'll just run off. I'll run off 2 more. It's no big thing. You found it? Yeah, right here. All right.
Yeah.
You got it too? No. The front should look like this. It should say pretest. It's a single page, just a front. There's no back to it. That's not it either. You know what? It's in the printer. It'll be there. It'll be the top one in there in 10 seconds. All right. All right. Now, if you look up on the screen, please. Okay. Make this a little smaller. There. That should be big enough. Okay. So what do we have here? All right. We know I'm not even worrying right now about the GUI. I want to look at what's here. I know that I've got a base rate of $200. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to create some constants. So program constants. And I'm going to say const, and let's try decimal because that is dollars and cents. So I'm going to say const decimal base rate equals 200.00, and when you use a decimal, you've got to put the letter M in there. I don't know who made that decision, but someone did. All right, so that's first one. Now I've handled this. I've got a work rate. And that is equal to 2. All right? And I'm asking. I'm not trying to be a smart aleck here. Believe me. Does that make sense? And I've got a mileage rate. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the work weight's 25. If you see me make a mistake, tell me, and I'll change it. So then we've got a mile rate. And that's equal to 2. So again, I'm asking the question for one last time. Do all 3 of those constants make sense? Those are my names. If you use different names, that's totally fine.
What are the names? The name for base rate, work rate?
You can call it anything. You could just call it base, work, and mile. You could call it anything. But it should be something fairly synonymous with what this says here. All right? So I've got that. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to go over to my design mode. I've got nothing here. I've done nothing. And I'm going to make this look very similar to the other ones that I've done. So I'm going to make this a smaller, that a little smaller. I'm eyeballing it. I don't know how big it'll have to be, but I'm going to do it like that. All right, so what am I going to do first? Well, I'm going to come over here and change the name of my form. So I'm going to call this form move estimator. Again, what you call it is up to you. And I'm going to change the text here from form 1 to pretest number 1, question number 1, move estimator GUI. It doesn't matter what you call it, but again, it should be something synonymous with what it is. All right? Okay, so I've got that. So now, because you've heard me say this before, I don't like this, so I'm going to change the background color. That's not that big a thing, but I'm going to change it this time. I haven't used the orange yet, so that'll be orange. That's fine. Now, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to need what? I'm going to put in the base rate, the work rate, the mile rate, and then total. Does that make sense? I'm going to have those 4 things in there. All right? So I'm going to come in and I'm going to make, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make 4 labels. Again, the order in which you do these does not matter. But I'm just going to grab a label and put it out here. And I'm immediately going to set the auto size property on that to false. And I'm going to make it nice and big. That means you can change it. It's counterintuitive almost to the way you and I would think it would be. All right, now I'm going to copy this. Paste it. I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to paste it. Again, you know there's different ways that you can do that. All right, so now I have 4 labels. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my 4 text boxes. I put a timer in there, which I don't want. All right. Well, that was interesting anyway. All right, so I'm going to put in a text box. And again, you've seen this. I'm going to actually move this over. My label is going to be pretty big. You'll see in a minute. But for this text box, I'm going to set the multi-line to true. Why? Just so I can make that bigger. It's the only reason. Looks about right. Not great, but it's fine. Copy that. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to paste it. Now, I'm not being funny here. I'm not being anything. All of you should know how to do that by now. And that shouldn't really take you very long. Probably took me longer than it should have, to be honest with you. All right. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to add my 3 buttons. So I'm going to just add one of them. All right. I'm going to buttons you can resize automatically. Make it a little bigger, a little chunkier. And I'm going to paste. And I'm going to paste. Now, I'm looking at this. I don't know why it's giving me this. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't normally see anything that looks like that, but it is anyway. And again, I don't know why it's doing that. All right. But there will be my interface. Okay? Everybody with me as far as what I'm doing? All right, now I just did that. I didn't mean to do that. So I want to remove that. Some of you did this. I've got code here I didn't want to put here. How do I fix it? I go back into design mode. I go to whatever it is. It's the form. And I click. Look on the screen. I click this lightning bolt. And it says, oh, you got code there for the load. I just highlight all of it and remove it, and that's gone. All that makes sense? All right. So now it's time to rename these. Put on your controls. Rename your controls, then write your code. So I'm going to call this one. The first one was base rate. Okay. So there shouldn't be anything there. No, not for what we're doing so far. All right. So I'm right here, and I'm going to change the name from label to label base rate. If you think that happened, you can do a Control-Z, which should undo your last action that you did. You might even have to do it a couple times. If it's not doing it, then you probably didn't actually delete it. You might have just changed Windows.
No, like, I meant to click it so I can go to that window, but instead of push the X, like right up here.
I really don't even know what that does.
And just let you go like up there where it says form1.css.
Okay. Oh, up here. Oh, all you did was close it then. You can reopen it.
Oh.
That just closes it. Well, whatever one you closed, if you close the design,
I didn't close the design, I closed the cover.
okay, then just with the design open, then just right mouse click over here and choose View Code or hit the F2 key. All right, so here is my label base rate, and I want to change the text on here to base rate. Okay, so that's done. Again, I can move this around later. I'm not caring about pretty right now. This is what we call the work rate. So I'm going to call this label work rate. And I'm going to put the text in there as, here's a surprise, work rate. All right. Finally, I've got this, and I'm going to call this one label mileage rate.
Whatever you put in that name, whatever you put the name as, is what you have
That,
to put it as when you code it.
that is the way you will refer to it in code. Yes. So for the mileage here, I'm going to put the text for that mileage rate. Okay, I guess I put a colon there, and I should, I'm going to put a colon after each one. You don't have to do that. It's no big thing. But I've got one for base rate, I've got work rate, and I've got mileage rate. Now, the only other thing that's left is total. So this will be label total.
So if I have mine like miles,
That's fine.
Is it just if it's miles, and then instead of mile rate, and I'll have
In your code, you'll have mile. That's all. That's fine. So I want to quickly change these. I'm lassoing all of them. I want these to be bigger so I can see them and you can see them. I don't like them at 8.25 points. So let's make them 12, bold, and Arial. You've seen that before. Boom. Now that fixed a lot of that. Now, the other thing I want to do, I'm looking here. I don't like it when those things touch. They technically shouldn't. All right. If they do, it's not hurting anything. But I'm going to take this and I'm going to move all of those over so my text align is going to be right center. Is it pretty obvious what I just did? Okay. The other thing I want to do is I want to take what's in my text boxes here, and I want the text aligned. I want them to be centered. You don't have to do that, but I like the way it looks a little better. That's all. All right, so now I've got, look on the screen, label base rate, label work rate, label mileage rate, label total. So this one will become text box base rate. You don't have to name them the same as your labels. I like to do that. Then I know what goes with what. Text box work rate, text box mileage rate, and text box total. My buttons, this first one will be button calculate. All right, and it'll have the code on, or the name on there, text I should say, of calculate. Second one will have the text of clear, and it'll be called button clear. And the last one will have the text be called button exit, and it'll have the text exit. I'm happy enough with my interface. I'm going to make it a little bit narrower, but I'm happy with the way that looks. So I'm going to highlight everything. I can also do a Control A, but then I'm going to right mouse click and choose Lock Controls. Now my interface is locked into place. All right, it's not perfect. It's not bad though. It looks okay. So if I double click on here now, it gives me my code window for my calculate button. I'll fill that up in a minute. If I do it here, it's going to give me my clear for my, or the code for my clear. And if I do it here, it'll be my exit. Okay? That should all make sense to you. Again, I like to do the clear first. So I want to clear this. No, I don't want to clear that. I want that to always stay 200. I want to clear this. I want to clear this. I want to clear this. And I want my cursor to go there. Does that make sense? All three of you. Does this make sense? Clear, 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 cursor. All right? So, text box. Well, we had work, we had mileage, and what was the other one? Work base. Work, mileage, and total. All right. So, work rate dot text equals double quote, text box, mileage rate dot text equal double quote, text box, total dot text equal double quote, text box, work rate dot focus. Okay? And I can quickly test that. There it is. Now, this will have 200 in it, but that's okay. So I'm going to put in just some junk. When I click this clear button, this should clear, this should clear, this should clear, and my cursor should be right there. Looks like that works. Okay, good. All right, that's a start. All right. The other thing I can do right away is this box that's here, this base rate should never change. So I'm going to take that base rate and I'm going to make it read only. It's gray now. I can change the color if I want to. But I'm going to put text in there too. And that text that's in there is going to say 200.00. Okay, now that's in there all the time and that won't be removed. All right, so I've got that. My exit, we've put this code in here before. You know what? I'm going to keep it simple. Look on the screen. I'm just going to say when you click exit, you want to get the heck out. So I'm just going to say application.exit. I don't want to write that all that other stuff again. We've done it before. All right. So let's make sure that that works. So again, now when I click exit, it exits. All right. Now let's before I do the calculate, let's make our cosmetic changes. What does that mean? Well, first I want to set the tab order. So I'm going to click View, and I'm going to go down to Tab Order, and I want this to be able to be set, that to be able to be set, that one, and that one. I don't care about the rest. What? All that does is it says when you run the program, you can hit your Tab key, and it'll tab in that order. That's all it is. It's a tab order. No, that's it. And then to turn it off, you do another. How that became there.
Do you have to do that?
You don't have to do anything. No. But it makes it easier for the person running the program. Now, my numbers somehow just got screwed up, so I'm going to close it and I'm going to redo it. I want it to start there. That's 0. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. That's 4. I don't even care about the rest of them. But that'll be 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So I'm going to do another View Tab Order. That's done. All right. What else do I want to change? I want this to be read-only also, because it's my final total. So that is now read-only. Okay. So these two are the only two where I can enter information. So my tab order is going to be here, here, and then these. Okay, what else do I want to do? I want to click on the form, single click, not double click. I don't want to open a code window. But I want to set my accept button to calculate. I want to set my cancel button to clear. And then finally, I want to go to my start position. And I want to set that to center screen. All right, I'm going to do a save and I'm going to run it. Now, boom, it's in the middle of the screen. Everything looks cool. And Chris, if you look on the screen, the tab order, that's 0. That's what I set to 1. That's what I set to 2. That's what I set to 3. That's what I set to 4. That's what the tab order did. All right, so the only thing that's left is to do my calculation. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is, what do I need? Well, I'm going to create 4 variables. I'm going to say decimal base equals 200. That's my base rate. Okay, so we got that. Why does it give me a base? Might be a keyword. All right, that's why it doesn't like it. So I'll call it base rate. That's fine. Base rate. Okay, that's fine. So decimal. I've got my work rate. I'm just going to, for now, set that equal to 0. And I've got another decimal. That is my mileage rate. I'm going to set that equal to 0. Finally, I'm going to have a total. And I'm going to set that equal to 0. All right? All right. Now I'm ready to go in here and actually do some work. Look on the screen, please. This base rate, that is going to hold this. All right, the work rate is going to hold what we put in here. The mileage rate is going to hold what we put in here. And the total is going to hold our formula. Does all that make sense? All right. So I've already got the base rate set. So my work rate is going to be equal to, all right, and let's see, it's going to be that number, okay, so convert dot to double text work rate dot text, okay, so that's going to do the conversion right there. Convert dot to double converts base type to another base type. Yeah. Oh, no, I cannot explicitly do a double. Oh, not to double, to decimal. Thank you. All right. But then I want to take it, and I got to multiply it by the actual work rate, which we set to, did we set it? There it is, 25 times work rate. All right, then the mile rate will be equal to convert dot to decimal text box mile rate dot text times mile rate. And if yours works, but you didn't do it like this, that's okay. I'm just doing this off the top of my head. That's all. So what do I want to do? Well, the total is equal to the base rate plus the work rate plus the mile rate. All right. Now, one thing about this, look on the screen if you would. I call these base rate, work rate, and mile rate. And notice down here I call them the same thing. Probably not a good idea. All right. It's okay to do that. All right. But I'm just going to call this base R, work R, and mile R, just so they're not exactly the same. So this will have to become work R, mile R, base R, work R, and mile R. It would have been okay to actually do it that way. All right, I just don't like the way that that looks. So finally, I'm going to say our total, text box total dot text, that equals what we just did, total dot toString, and I'm going to make sure that it's formatted currency. And I should be done. Let's check. Now, I always say this to people, but look on the screen. All right, let's play computer. All right, I'm going to say in here that it took us 5 hours. And I'm going to say we went 250 miles. All right, so our total should be 200, which is our base rate, plus our work rate is, what do we say, $25 an hour, right? So plus 25 times that 5 we just put in, plus, all right, and this is $2 each, plus 250 times 2. Does that make sense to everybody? So in other words, it should be 200 plus 125 plus 500 if everything works out right. So that's 0, 5, 2, 8. All that makes sense? Let's see if it, so I want to remove these two and just put them in. So again, this will be 5. I'm going to hit tab. All right, and what do we say, 250? All right, yep, 250. And we click calculate, 825. All right. If we click clear, everything clears except that, and exit is just going to exit. All right. Now, I'm going to do this, but this is going to be about the last time I do this. I'm going to print this out and give you each a copy of this. But you have to start learning how to start doing your own style. Now, you could turn around and say, hey, we're only 2 weeks in. I get that. All right. But it's this the way this class will not work is me doing every problem and then just having you key it in. You're not learning that way. You're learning how to key stuff in, but I don't think you're learning very much. All right. And again, you may not agree with that, but that is how I feel at least. And I realize some of you are going to pick it up faster than others are. And that's human nature. You know, there's nothing special about that. So let's see. And you know this already, or you may not know this, but if you look up on the screen here, anything that's here in gray I'm not using, so we can remove these if we want to. And the system even gives us a little shortcut. Put our mouse here, it'll bring up a little light bulb. I can click here and say, hey, remove anything I'm not using. And see what it did for me? Okay, not that that's a big thing. See, but the whole thing is literally about 50 lines, 52 lines. All right, that's the whole program. Short edge, 501, 203. Well, it should start printing. I don't know why it isn't. So my question to you is, looking on the screen, am I right in assuming no one has any problem building the interface? Is that a fair thing to assume? Yes, just that. Am I right in assuming you understand what's happening when you click clear? All right. Am I right in understanding, or that you understand what happens when you click exit? But in any application, most of the stuff you do is going to be under the calculate. That should just make sense. So what do we want to do? We want to take whatever you put in here. We want to convert it, because if I put a 3 in there, it's not the number 3, it's the string 3. So we want to create it to the number 3 and then multiply that by 25, because that's our work rate. So if I put a 3 in there, I really want it to be $75. If I put 100 in here, it's the string 100. All right, so I want to convert it to 100, then multiply it by 2, so it's 200. Then I want to add 200, 75, and 200, so that gives me 475. All right, so again, what I just showed you, I'm going to put a 3 in there. That should become 75. All right, and I'm going to put 100 in there. That should become 200. If I did this right, that should be $475. I'm not sure why that's not printing anything, but one more time. And set to the right printer. I hate that. Every once in a while I'll set it to the wrong printer and I'll send it. Mr. Corrigan's in there lecturing and all of a sudden I'll start printing a job in there. Very unprofessional. It says it's offline. It may have shut itself off and not really. No. Q. That should be it. Hopefully that'll send it. All right. Let's look at the second program. In fact, you know what? Let's do these out of order. Just so we're sure we have time, let's look at the console program. Okay? All right. So here's the console. This one's done now, so I'm just going to do a file save all. And I'm going to close it just because I don't want it to get messed up with the other stuff. All right. So the next one that we're going to do here. Still coming out. Try to send that one in. .203 landscape short edge. See if that comes up. I don't know what the problem is with the darn printer. All right. If I have to, I'll go print it from the office printer and walk it back in here. Okay, so we're going to do the next one now. Or the last one, the console one. Okay? So write a program named Admission Console. That's what I named it. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you something. I didn't give you a lot of instructions on this one. Okay? And notice, we don't know certain things, but I'm going to assume this. I'm going to assume the lowest GPA you can enter is 0, and I'm going to assume the highest GPA you can enter is 4. Guess what? That isn't true anymore. My niece and nephew, when they both graduated from high school, their GPAs, I believe, for both of them were 5. Because you can do more when you do outside activities and all that other stuff. So, you know, that helped him. He's a film student at USC, and he's got not a full ride, but they're paying for he's got scholarships up the wazoo. She wants to be, I think, a vet, but I don't know, because she's a senior now, so I don't know what she's going to be. All right. But the point is they both had over a 3. So I'm going to come in here, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set some constants. Program constants. What am I going to set? Well, I'm going to say const double, and I'm going to say min GPA, and I'm going to set it equal to 0.0. And I'm going to have const double max GPA, and I'm going to set that equal to 4.0. That should make sense to everybody in here. Again, I'm not going to worry about, oh, well, like you just said, what about a 5? No, that's the way I'm setting it up. All right? Now, admission scores, I'm going to assume that the worst admission score you can get is a 0, and the best is 100. Does that all make sense? I'm not saying that's true. I'd have to check with somebody, but I'm going to say const. I'm going to make these ints, and I'm going to call min score, and I'm going to set that equal to 0, and I'm going to have const int max score, and I'm going to set that equal to 100. Again, those may not be true. I don't care. I really don't. I'm just saying that like this to you because I want you to understand this was my rationale, or is going to be my rationale doing this. That's all. All right, so what do I have to do? I have to input a grade point average. I have to input an admission test score, correct? Correct? So those are my 2 variables. All right? All right, so my variables are going to be, I'm going to have a double, which I'm going to call GPA, and I'm just going to initialize it to 0.0. I'm going to read that in a minute. And I'm going to have another, an int, which I'm going to call test score. And I'm going to set that equal to 0 as well. Look on the screen, please. Do either one of these variables not make sense? I mean, I can write comments here. Minimum GPA allowed. Maximum GPA allowed. Minimum test score. Yeah, let's make this a little easy on myself here. Maximum test score. All right. This will be grade point average, and this will be admissions, I think they called it, test score. All right. So what? So I want to read in. I'm going to want to do read lines and write lines. Yes? So I'm going to come back up to the top, and I'm going to add my using static system.console. I didn't need it for the other one because it didn't have read lines and write lines. All right. But I'm going to come in here now. Input GPA and test score. In fact, let's just do them separately. Input GPA. All right. Right. Please enter GPA between 0.0 and 4.0. Now, I've said this before. I'm saying this. I'm not smiling. It's not a joke. You can't account for human stupidity. So if somebody keeps putting 15 in there, they're going to keep doing it. Does that make sense? All right. Then I'm going to say GPA equals convert dot to double. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see. Write this. Yeah, GPA read line. Okay, that is going to input the GPA. However, look on the screen. What if the person puts 27? That's not a valid GPA, correct? So I'm going to say in here, while the GPA is less than the minimum GPA, or the GPA is greater than the maximum GPA, what am I going to have them do? I'm asking you that question. What do I want them to do? No. If they put in a GPA that's out of range, what do I want them to do? Yeah, do it again. That's it. Does that make sense? All right. Now, because I don't want to take too much of your time, I'm going to grab this and I'm going to copy it down here. Why? Because now I want to input the test score. So I'm just going to make my changes. Please enter test score between 0 and 100. And this will be test score. And this will be convert to int 32. And this will be while test score is out of range. So while it's less than the minimum test score, or, no, we call it min score and max score, sorry. While it's less than the min score, or it's greater than the max score, as Christian just said, we want you to do it again. So now I've got all my inputs in. Would you all agree with that? I can make this smaller so you can see everything. Sorry, if I make it too small, it's almost impossible to see. But now, when I get down to here, look at this line. On line 43, I have to have a valid GPA. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten to that line. I'm stuck in purgatory here. When I get down to this line, I now have a valid test score. All right, so what do? And I want to say this. If, and I need to get my criteria, because I don't remember what the heck they are. All right. So that criteria was up here. Again, that's all I'm doing now is I'm putting in that criteria. Well, when I first do it, I'm going to just leave it here as a comment so my program doesn't blow up. There it is. Okay. So these are my conditions. Okay, so if the GPA is greater than or equal to a 3.0, all right, so if I have that, and the test score is greater than or equal to 60, all right, play with my parentheses here, I didn't put enough in. All right, and I want 1 for the whole thing. That's my first criteria. GPA greater than or equal to 30 and test score greater than or equal to 60. I'm asking you this question. Looking at that, what? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Why am I giving that? Because I need this. There. Okay. What does this make sense to everybody that that's the first one? Now, what Angie did on hers is she combined both of them, which is fine. Totally fine. Okay? But I'm just going to say here, right line, accepted. Okay? Then I'm going to come in here and say else, and the second one is GPA less than 3. All right? And test score greater than or equal to 80. All right, and we want 2 parens, 1 paren, 1 paren, 2 parens. Okay? Why? These don't always, for some reason, take when you do this. Now it should have. Okay? So if that's the case, I also want to accept them. I'm just going to copy that line. If it's neither one of those, I want to reject them. Okay? Now, I want to be able to run this a few times. Are you listening? I want to be able to run this a few times. I'm going to put this whole thing into a loop. You weren't asked to do that. But I'm going to put all of it into a loop just so I can run it a bunch of times. So while 1 equal 1. I'm purposely setting up an infinite loop here. I'm purposely doing that. So it's just going to run it, then it's going to run it again, etc. Okay? All right, now it's giving me an error here. Else. Why it's doing that, I don't know. No, not after an if or an else. No. There, I want one there, I want one there, I want one there. Show potential fixes. Okay. Probably that one. Still not sure what the problem is. So let's save it and run it. See if it gives me an error. Yes. All right. No, there should not be one there. Paren. Microsoft, in their infinite wisdom, keeps coming in here and changing, what they do as far as how they set stuff up, etc. I don't know why they do this. Let's see if I can do it with just one paren. Right line accepted. That is correct. 1, 1. Expression term. Holy moly. That should be totally valid. This, now putting one here and putting one here, that should be totally valid. Doesn't like something. Right line, else cannot, else if. All right, that was the problem the whole time. So this is just going to keep running. So I'm going to run it the first time. Oh, it's going to go right off the screen. I didn't put my ending read line in there, so let me put that in. All right. 3. Well, that shouldn't say 1,000. That should say 100. Accepted. See that? 3, 10. They should be rejected. Okay. Over 3, 3.1, and then anything over 60, they should be accepted. But a 3.1 with a 59, they should be rejected. All right, I'm going to change that so it says 0 and 100 there. Now you can be as literal here as you want, but notice if I do run this, why don't we do this? Every time we run it, we'll do \n there. That will make it look a little nicer. So please enter a GPA. I'm going to enter something out of range on purpose. 5. All it does is it tells you to do it again, right? -3. Same thing. Okay? Let's give them a real high GPA, 4. I still didn't fix that. Let's give them a test score that's between 0 and 100, rather. So let's give them a 0. They're rejected. That's right. That needs a \n. And that needs to be 100. So that's just the GPA. And let's do this. Let's put a blank line before all of these. You don't have to do that. Maybe it'll look worse when I do this. I don't know. All right, so please enter it. Let's give them something out of range. 44. Okay, just tells them to do it again. -44 tells them to do it again. Okay? All right, so let's give them a GPA of 4, but let's give them a real low test score. A 1. They're rejected. Let's give them a 4 and a test score greater than or equal to 60. They're accepted. Let's give them something under a 3. 2, let's make it a 2, that's fine. And let's give them a low test score. They're rejected. Good. Let's give them something, again, a low GPA but a high test score. They're accepted. All that makes sense? All right. And again, I put a couple more comments in here, but, all right, that said, in fact, this read line should be moved up. Getting a warning right now, so that should be put right there. Now I don't have any warnings. It's all clean. Still, 75 lines. And it'll be less in just a minute because, again, I don't need these things in gray. So it'll make it about 70 lines. All right, close still, I guess 74. But comments there. Comments up here. Right? And again, I will print out both these. What I don't want, all right, you don't have to look, but please listen to this. What I don't want is, I don't want it, you're taking your test Friday, and you're like, okay, I'm going to look at his. And you're doing this all period. You're not going to get it done. I've had people take the test like that. I'm going to just mimic what he did, because it works, and then mine will work. And then it doesn't work. And then I get called over, and it's 11:30. I'm still on the first one, and I don't have a freaking clue what I'm doing wrong. You're not going to do well then. You know, that's not a threat. It's just, that's just the way it is. All right? What I think I'll do is I'm going to print you out, each of you out, a copy of this. Then what I'm going to ask, I'm going to stop talking now. But what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'll do the other one. But what I'd like you to do between now and then is try to do that second one. All right? And if you do need to use the notes or the programs I've done for some help, then do that. Remember, when you are creating a GUI program, so for the last one, all right, for this last program example that is here, all right, when you come in, first put on your controls, then rename your controls, then write the code for the controls. All right? So again, we will go over this one tomorrow. But I'm going to bring this one, I'm going to print out 5 copies. All right, there we got that. That's not too bad looking. Control P, I'm going to send it to the right printer now. That's it. Okay, that should send that one. And I need the other one. And that should be here. P printer now. All right. So give me a couple minutes. I'm going to walk over to the other printer, grab those, and then I'll be right back. And then after that, I'm going to walk downstairs and get something to drink. So before I do that, though, I think I'm still taping. So I'm going to stop the tape, just pause it for right now.